your life is a lot less complicated than Amazon's shipping, and you only need one top performer monitoring that system every quarter, and that's you. Okay, once the system's set up, all you have to do is just monitor it every quarter and tweak certain things that you think that you could do better. Okay, and then when it's just on the day-to-day, you're just waking up, you're like, okay, 13 things to do, go to the gym, answer my emails, call this guy, do 100 sales calls, and you knock off those 13 things. Rest of the day is yours. You don't put any more worry into the future. If there is something that you are worried about in the future that you feel like has to be assessed and has to be managed, boom, that goes in a project folder. Okay, in that project, you have all the subtasks, and then you have a due date on when that has to be done, or at least when you're going to start working on it. So then okay, it's not something I have to worry about. It's not some vague thing in the future. It's like, no, it's a problem. It's in the project folder. Going to get started on that Q3 next year. Have it wrapped up by Q1 the year after that. And that way, all you have to do is wake up and get things done, and not have to project all this future pain into the present, because you know that you're handling everything by handling your daily tasks. So that's number one, automation. Number two, action dependence is somewhat similar, but it's worth a clarification. So action dependence is a bridge between outcome dependence and outcome independence. Okay, both outcome independence and outcome dependence are psychological strategies that people use for approaching situations that cause them to worry. Some examples would be like picking up women or doing sales calls. Outcome dependence guys will tell you to worry. They'll tell you to be hard on yourself. They'll tell you to beat up on yourself for not closing. And because of this, outcome dependence guys are going to close more girls and make more money in sales and in their business than quote unquote outcome independence guys. Okay, but the price to pay for being very outcome dependent is constant worry and periods of self-hatred when you're not winning, when you're not closing. And in sales, guys, that's going to be like 90% of the time, or whatever it is in your industry where you're not closing. It's a game of rejection. It's a game of, same thing with picking up women, because we're the salesmen in this society. Okay, it's going to be a game of rejection. It's going to be a game of getting flaked on. It's going to be a game of buyers are liars. It's going to be a game of not getting what you wanted. So when you're constantly stressed and worried, you're going to be stressed an awful lot, and you're going to beat yourself up an awful lot, because oftentimes in sales, things are not going to go your way. So as a response to that type of mentality, there's certain guys who've developed what's called an quote unquote outcome independence mentality. And they will tell you to detach yourself from the outcome. They'll tell you to read some new age spirituality books on living in the present. And because of this, most of these guys are not going to go as hard as outcome dependence guys. And that means they're not going to close as many deals or be as successful with women, or whatever the situation may be. Also, the idea of outcome independence is a fallacy. Okay, we are dependent on certain things to get income. You are too outcome independent for too long, you're going to have problems in income. You're going to have problems with women. And in every scenario, you want things to go a certain way. It is not possible for you not to want things to go a certain way. You're always going to want one outcome over the other. Okay, the outcome you want is to get that girl's phone number and her to hang out with you. The outcome you don't want is her to tell you she's not interested. Okay, yes, it might not be a big deal, and it's good if you don't make it up into a big deal, but you got to be honest with yourself and say, I want this one outcome. All right. So this idea of outcome dependence is not fully true, in my opinion. It's easy to believe that you're quote unquote Zen and outcome independent when you're talking to some girl on the street who doesn't have to give you her number. And even though you want her to hang out with you, if she doesn't, it's not a big deal. And you say, well, there's other fish in the sea, and that's good to a degree. But it's a different situation entirely, where you need to close a big client to hit your revenue targets. And if you don't hit that target that month, you're going to be fired. Okay, you're very much dependent on that outcome to eat. And if you're going in trying to be Zen and your primary concern is, I'm just not going to worry about it, probably going to lose that client, probably going to lose your job. Okay. So what I want to give you is a bridge. This is primarily if you're an outcome dependent guy, because if you're a go-getter, if you're a type A, and you probably are, if you're watching this, you're an outcome dependent guy, and you probably lean towards beating yourself up over not caring too much, because guys who aren't caring too much probably aren't watching too much in terms of self-improvement. Okay. So the solution to the type of stress of being outcome dependent, as well as the solution to like not just trying to pretend to be Zen and not care about the outcome, is similar to automation. You have your process for closing deals, from your marketing spend to prospecting to work output to the pitch, features and benefits, objection management, all the way down to the closes. You know to the letter how much you want to spend on marketing, how many calls you need to make per day, what you need to say on each call, and that you push for the close 5 to 7 times using creative closes with your closes in order usually. And if that fails, you discount. Okay. Now, of course, you're going to have a different, depending on your industry, you might have a 6-month sales cycle. So you're not pushing 5 to 7 closes on the first call, but you've got a process, and you've got the best process, and you're constantly tweaking and optimizing that process every quarter to make sure that your conversion rates on your deals are as high as possible, as well as to make sure that you're doing enough calls. If it's not calls, it's in-person pitches or whatever your output may be. Okay, a lot of guys think they can build a business on a few calls a week. No, it's like 100 calls a day. I mean, that's what I made for the better part of a decade in a sales job where I had to do $40,000 a month in revenue just to keep my job, using a phone and an internet connection and no inbound marketing, no inbound leads. So having that system in place, having it optimized, as I said before, the systems are everything. But when you have a top quality system in place, on top of a top quality sales system in place, on top of a top quality life management system in place, all you have to do is follow the process. Okay, and this applies to whether it's picking up women or any of those other stressful scenarios that people try to avoid or try to manage through outcome dependence or outcome independence. So instead of focusing on all the fear and pressure you feel on a sales call, like, oh fuck, I need to close this guy. Oh man, if I don't close it, I'm gonna be in trouble. Like, is this business gonna work? Like, et cetera, et cetera. Instead of slipping into that fear cycle, or slipping into that fear cycle before the call where you're even hesitant to call the guy, or at the start of the morning and you don't make your calls for that day because you're in fear consciousness, focus on the actions you take. Okay, that's all you have to do. When you've built that beautiful system, all you have to do is focus on the actions. That's what I mean by action dependence. When you're on the call, if fear comes up, okay, you change the focus, because you can only focus on one thing at a time. The present moment's all that exists. You focus on the pitch, okay? And then you focus on where the prospect is at with your pitch. And then you focus on his objection, and you isolate that objection, and then you manage it, and then you reiterate the benefits, and then you push up and ask for the close. Okay, he says, no, you pull back to the features and benefits, try and isolate what his next objection is, or if you haven't solved his objection properly. And then you're running through the features and benefits again, gearing up for close number 2, which is a stronger close, all the way until you hear a yes, a hard no, or you schedule a callback, okay, which is going to happen. All right, there's a lot of people who just will not buy right away. They need to agonize over it for a week, and they need you to put more pressure on them the second time. But when you're action dependent, you know that all you have to do is follow your process to a T. Okay, you push for your 5 to 7 closes every time, and good things will happen, even if you don't close that particular client. Okay, because you have a good system, and you don't have to worry about what I should have said, or beat yourself up, or worry about your future, or worry about like, man, this business is gonna fail. You don't have to worry about any of that, because you know that you've built a really good system. You know that every quarter it's in your schedule to optimize the system, to go through it, to see what's working, to see, can I get my conversion rate from 30% up to 35%? And as long as you continue to be action dependent, meaning taking the right actions every day, you'll succeed and get the good things that you want out of life, whether with sales, with women, or any of the other objectives that you're aiming for. Same applies to the gym, right? You're not worried about what a fat slob you are, or beating yourself up, or worried about your health in the future, like, oh, I've been really unhealthy, I'm going to get sick. No, you're worried about, all I have to do is just take these right actions and I'm going to start to become really healthy.